Hey. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, and depending what time you are listening and tuning in and watching on YouTube. This is Javier or Javi with another episode of Kingdom Talks. I'm here with my buddy Mike. He is back again for the second time around. For those who've been actually tuning in since episode 1, he's done an early episode. I think it was 4 or 5.
Yeah,
where we spoke. It was early on.
One of the OGs.
One of the OGs officially, and hopefully we can get him in for many more episodes to come. But yeah, he's done the marijuana episode, which did a lot of numbers, analytically, I guess, and it did well. We spoke. For those that are new, go back to that episode. It's called the legalization of marijuana and the stance that the general public has on that and stuff like that. It was a great conversation too, so it was pretty dope. But without further ado, I'd just like to, as always, for most of you that know and tune in weekly, I always like to go to the prayer requests that you guys. I only got 2 this week, but hopefully those numbers could get bumped up. So please, I encourage you guys to always hit up the DM on the Instagram. That is for those who are new. It's Kingdom Talks _pod, POD at the end. Kingdom Talks _pod, and go ahead and DM us with any praise reports or prayer requests, and we will share those on our weekly episodes on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. So the first one is from a mom. She says, I'm a struggling mom, and I am in need of prayer for my kids. She really didn't get into too much detail as to what it is that she's dealing with her kids, but she did mention that she's a single mom, so I could just imagine what it's like to raise kids.
And just like a single mom, to still be like worrying about her prayers for her kids.
Yeah, man.
Not even for her, right?
And not even for her. So that's just the real MVP right there is you single moms that try to make it happen for the family and try to always provide. And why not seek for prayer, seek for wisdom to the Most High, who is our provider. So prayers for you. And then lastly, there's a prayer request from a gentleman saying that he recently got divorced, not by choice, asking for peace over my mind, body, and family. Okay, that's a tough one too, so we're definitely praying over that. So if you're listening, just know that we are praying for that. I know that's statistically in America, it's almost more than 50% that in this country that the divorce rates are just skyrocketing. And we can have a whole episode on that. But to correlate to divorce and relationships and dating and all that to even get to marriage is dating. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hey! So we're going to be diving in and kind of unpacking a little bit of. I felt like, and I actually.
It's going to be a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot to unpack. And me and Mike actually, to give you guys a little bit of like the behind the scenes, is that I shared my heart with Mike, and I told him, hey, Mike, I wanted to kind of have this discussion, this conversation because I know it's got to be for somebody out there, because me and you aren't the only ones that went through the gauntlet of the dating pool in the 2010s and 15s and in
South Florida.
In South Florida, especially, where the creed of people is slightly different from what I'm used to, because you're from up north.
Correct.
I'm from up north. And the culture is definitely a little different up north than it is down here. Not to dig on South Florida. I love South Florida. This is my home. I love the people who I'm involved with. But South Florida has a different creed, different culture. It's definitely a little bit pretentious. But I'm saying a little bit very nicely.
Right.
Because I feel like it could be a lot of it. People are just concerned of the way they look. Because all year round down here in South Florida, especially in sunny side Palm Beach, Florida.
Right.
It's summer 10 months out of the year. Let's just be honest. For those that live down here, they know what we're talking about. It's literally summer 9-10 months out of the year. Year round. So year round, everybody's rocking a tank top or nothing at all. If you're a guy, and if you're a girl, you want to have that flat stomach, that slim waist.
Oh my gosh.
And they just want to work on their bodies. So the culture down here, they just focus on the aesthetic and not so much on the inside. And I'm not saying that that's an overwhelming thing, but it's just what we've been exposed to because of the circles that we kind of floated through.
For sure.
Because I've been living here since 2005, and you moved in
summer of 2005.
Yeah, so I moved spring of 2005.
I think we met the following year.
Yeah, and then we met the following year through my cousin Camilo. Shouts to Camilo.
Yeah, shout out to Camilo.
Yeah, he hit me up on Facebook not too long ago.
The S2000.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it was just fitting to just kind of start off this episode 25. First episode of the new season in the new year of 2022. I hope that everybody out there had a great Christmas, holiday. Holidays was definitely busy for me. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's is always busy for me and my family and my loved ones. Yeah. So it was kind of busy, man, with shopping and just gatherings with family and things of that nature. It gets really busy. So I hope that everybody had a great new year. A safe one. I would hope. I had a pretty quiet one. How about yourself?
Same. I was gonna say I usually enjoy. I'm Jamaican. I usually enjoy the loudness and going from here to here. But the COVID thing was kind of floating around, and a lot of people I know were sick and stuff, and including myself. And so it was quiet, but like a good quiet. It was just I'm used to a lot of hustle and bustle, and it was nice for once to just relax. Right. Let Christmas kind of come to me and just chill with the family.
Yeah, same. And I think it was quiet in a good way, like you said, because I think with the Caribbean, Jamaican, and Latino, like that Latino culture, we're very similar because we love to eat food. We love to cook, home cooked meals ASAP, and we're eating, we're drinking.
Putting the music
on blast, you know what I'm saying? So it was a little bit of that, but a couple notches below the norm, if you will, right? So it was pretty cool, and it was just nice to be around, my cousin Nikki. She's a mom, so she brings her kid around. My brother, as you know, has beautiful kids, and so the kids are playing around. So it's a different dynamic because now you see kids running around everywhere, running amok and playing and fighting because they don't want to share their games. And one has the Kindle, the other one has the iPad, the other one wants to play Nintendo Switch, and it's just crazy. But overall, dude, it was a good time.
If your parents could hear you talking like that now, they'd be like, "Yeah, see, now you know what we were."
Yeah, exactly. And I have a lot of peers and friends and you listeners out there who are parents or even single parents, like the person that did that prayer request. It's tough, man. And I've been due to certain circumstances that what my brother's going through, and was called to kind of step up as a leader and as a male presence for Connor, who is 7. So he's so aware of things. He's a bright kid, and he's asking questions, and he wants to do this, and he wants to fly drones now. I'm like, how did you know about a drone? You're 7, bro.
Yeah, I know.
I remember, like, when I was 7, I was playing. I think I was still playing with G.I. Joes, bro, and like Genesis or Nintendo. I don't know what I was doing, but. So yeah, like he wants to fly a drone. So of course he got a drone for Christmas. So I'm out there taking him out to fly drones and stuff. So it's just been a treat to just literally have that role and embrace it, because it does get taxing. Because I'm sometimes at the end of the night when they get picked up, I'm like in bed like this. And I'm just like, bruh, like I could finally breathe and I could just have a moment to myself and just be me. Because when you're around kids, you're constantly, you have to be on top of them, making sure that they're straight, that they're not fighting. Because, his sister is 3 and she's a bright kid too. And she's talking now and she, she's a tatty teller. Things go awry. She's telling, bro. She'll come over and she'll be like, Tio Javi, Connor, and she'll go on this rant about what Connor did and what he didn't do, and it's just crazy, bro. But that's just been the dynamic for me the last couple of months, and it's been great. there has been challenges, but overall, man, my family's good. I'm glad that you are doing well as far as your health, because I know that you were supposed to be on an earlier show,
yes,
but you had to cancel on me because you got COVID. You tested positive for COVID.
Yep. So that was tough. It was good after like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, it's been crazy because of this spike with Omicron and all these different variants that you're going to see a spike. And I've seen people get sick. The good news is just a mild flu. It's not really killing people.
Yeah, thankfully. That's all I care about. I'm not like, where the hurricane hasn't come. No, the hurricane didn't hit. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that this Omicron is okay.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not hurting people. So.
Yeah, because and even before Omicron, there was Delta, and I'm just like, bro, they're just coming up with different names. It's like there's a new variant. It's like it reminds me of like when there's a new iOS update on your iPhone. Yeah. So COVID was like, oh, there's an update. There's Delta now.
Yeah, gotta get your 19 booster.
I know, and then after Delta, like literally months later, it's like, oh well, there's Omicron, and now like a couple of weeks ago, I just heard about that variant.
I forget. It's
out of France, right?
It's like Lou or some weird. I forget.
It's like
LHU or HU or
oh my gosh. So it's really an iOS update every 3 months, bro.
Yeah,
but we're going to get through this. 2022 is the year of redemption. I'm declaring that right now, bro. We are being redeemed.
Yes.
We're going to conquer. In any of our platforms, we're going to conquer too. All you creatives out there, you're going to see your breakthroughs. You're going to see the fruit of your labor. I declare that, man. So for all you creatives up there, you YouTubers, TikTokers, you artists out there, producers, rappers, spoken word artists, shout you guys out, because you guys are the truth. Podcasters out there too. Like I know a couple people who do a podcast and have a similar show. So shouts to all of you guys that are.
I want to shout you out. That's why I did that, buddy. I wanted to. I had to. He bigged up everybody but himself. That's how it go.
So big ups for Kingdom Talk. Kingdom Talks is definitely done well. It's been really just been kind of taking off in the Spotify world and in the Apple podcast world. I'm just trying to kind of bump those numbers up in YouTube, but I'm not going to get too caught up in that, because I just want to do what's set for me and my assignment that God, I believe, gave me, and that's just to have conversations to uplift people, to challenge people, not to really call out people, but call people up, to challenge them and just embrace getting uncomfortable being like in conversation, because we have to just get comfortable being uncomfortable, because I think that in long term will definitely grow you, just to have conversations, because conversations could be liberating, it could be impactful, and it also can be equip you with certain things, because there's some conversations that you can jump in with whomever, and you can take something away from that conversation that would inspire you to do something cool or something innovative or something that will produce a form of income. You just never know. So I always believe in the power of dialogue, and that's essentially why I use this podcast, man, and why I'm doing this podcast. And I'm really grateful for your support and for you to just jumping on and always willing to make time for that. So I applaud you. Applaud this man. Get the man. So for those who are just tuning in or listening, you new listeners, we do have an Instagram, as I said, and we do have a Cashapp for those, because there's been donations that are been coming in. And what I'm going to do with those donations, I've been kind of been entertaining the idea of using those donations to give back. So I'm probably sometime this year, in the next couple months, once I start seeing that the donation bin is growing, I'm going to give back, and I'm going to have like different contests or different things that I can engage with the audience via YouTube or Instagram, and have like these little giveaways. And whether it be a book, whether it be a gift card, an Amazon gift card, some type of gift card, I want to use those donations to give back, because I do appreciate that, and I do believe in reciprocating the love that I get, and I want to reciprocate that love back. So that's a new announcement, guys. That is an announcement that I will have some type of giveaways, some type of of a way to engage with you guys who've been listening since day one. So this is definitely for all you day ones out there that's been supporting, that's been tuning in, and just really being part of the conversation, if you will. Also, talking about merch and all this other stuff, I just want to remind you guys that I am an ambassador for Seek Jesus Company. They also have not a podcast, but a Instagram, and just check out their link. Check their website. Any merchandise out of that website, when you use the promo code kingdomtalks, you get a 15% discount for your
military discount.
So good. You'll get a 15% discount for anything, whether it be t-shirts, the hoodies. You saw the hoodie that I posted not too long ago. So yeah, any merchandise in that website, you use the promo code kingdomtalks, you get a 50% at checkout. And I know that you're wearing a pretty cool shirt.
So I just want to shout out my boys out in Harlem.
Hey.
This is their clothing line, Rebel Noir Clothing. Rebel Noir, it kind of stands for itself, but go to @Rebel Noir Clothing, right? That's REBELNOIR Clothing, CLOTHING, or rebelnoir.com. All right?
Yeah, man.
Shout out my boys out there. They're doing big things. They're all over the United States, but they're Harlem-based, black-owned business.
Yes, we got to shout the black-owned businesses. Round of applause for that. So big shout, and I'll make sure I'll read those links. So that way,
because my spelling isn't always on point. Forgive me.
Yeah. So episode 25, guys. The first episode of 2022, and I get to do it to a guy that I've known forever. I feel like.
Yep. Too long.
So we're gonna talk about just personal experiences, and hopefully you guys that are listening in can relate, can possibly change your perspective on things, and maybe enlighten you. Who knows? But we're definitely gonna talk about our personal experiences with, especially early on when I kind of was entertaining the idea of meeting the one, because once you get into a certain age bracket, you go through phases, right? Like when you're in high school, you're just dating, and you experience the puppy love, and you break up to make up, and makeups to breakups, and that one girlfriend that you're always constantly breaking up with, and you're always in high school, whether it be junior year, senior year, or your sophomore year, whenever it was always that thing going on in high school. And then when you start developing as a young man, as a young adolescent, you start seeing things and start experiencing things, and especially in that relational world of what we call the dating pool, it could become pretty treacherous. It could become pretty nerve-wracking, especially when, for me, I was like a late bloomer. I didn't come out of my shell till, I don't know, I can't even remember, but I'm that old, guys. I can't remember when I actually broke out in my shell and I started, being more of an extrovert. Because I'm extremely extroverted. I don't consider myself too much of an introvert. I love to have conversations. I love to talk. I love to pick at people's brains and have thought-provoking conversations. Hence why I have this podcast. But I think early on, I was in that zone where I'm like, oh, I see people around me and they're getting into serious relationships and they're moving in together and they're doing this and then doing that, and it seems like they're thriving, but you just don't know what happens behind the scenes. Right. Because if people don't know, social media is a liar. It's fake, and couples out there who hashtag relationship goals, they're the ones that are mostly going through some stuff, and they're arguing and they're fighting, and they're obviously not going to post that on their social media. But I've just been through some tough times with trying to meet that right one, and I've been cheated on. I never was the one to be spiteful and cheat back. It was just not in me. Yeah. Was I petty, and was I a little bit of a passive aggressive kind of a guy? Yeah, I still am a little bit. But I try to kind of navigate through things with words. I'm not one to put my hands on, especially on a female. I've never been that guy. I've actually been around dudes that subscribe to that, and that's something that's learned behavior, and that's a different conversation for a different topic for a different time. For sure. But it's just difficult because like just going through different scenarios and situationships, if you will, you get to realize who you are and learn who you are when you start doing life with that other person. Like you start seeing like, oh man, I have a bit of OCD. I didn't know that until I actually, lived with someone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We don't realize how annoying we are until we live with somebody else. You know what I mean?
That's a whole fact.
So quick to, gosh, she's so annoying, and that little thing. And then, I recently been in a relationship. I've just been in it for about a year now, and I never realized how annoying I was.
Yeah.
It's like I had some inkling to, I know I have flaws and stuff like that, flaws and things I need, weaknesses. But in terms of just, knowing what it's like to live with me, I never really contemplated. And I think it's a good thing to bring up because, a lot of the search for the one for me, for the early half of my life, was very outward. It wasn't much of, hey, Mike, what are you doing? How are you advancing your career? How are you advancing your mind, your body? And there was nothing like that. It was, what is she doing?
Right.
What does she offer? How is she going to enhance my life?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I turned that around and tried to be a better person that I actually had any type of real success with relationships.
And it's crazy that you said that too, because I was a little bit like that too. It's very outward. And
a lot of adolescent men, I would say.
A lot of young adolescent men are like that in their early 20s because it's what they provide. What are they going to provide for me? And it's very selfish. But we are selfish beings, right? So early on, it was more like, what is she bringing to the table to make me better and essentially be this quote unquote power couple, right? And so it wasn't until we shift that around where we work on self first, where we start meeting more, being within the circles of quality. Because when I was like in that mindset, I was attracting what my ignorance only allowed me to know. So I would attract a certain creed of women in my life that were, and I know it's a buzzword now in 2021, 2022, toxic. This word has been used so heavily the last year and a half, toxic, and she's toxic, and toxicity this, and my toxic trait is this, and you see all these memes about the red flag memes.
The red flag. Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that was running rampant in 2021. I hope that goes away in 2022. To be honest with you, but like honestly, like you literally attract what you embody, and if you embody a certain way of thinking, you're gonna attract a certain quality of person, and then you're gonna involve yourself in that. And then early on, dating was just kind of ugly for me for a little bit. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that every single one, because I don't know if my exes are going to be listening to my show, but like, I'm not saying that every single one
earplugs
mute, but I'm not here to even use names or put a name to my exes, but because that's not what we're going to do on the show. But what I want to do is kind of in a sense, like, I'm not trying to bash who my exes were or what they did to me, because I learned a lot of what I went through or what I even put them through, because I wasn't an emotional stable guy, because I was so much I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I sometimes have these inclinations I used to have these impulses where I was led by emotion, led by that Latin fire, that Latin compassion, and in that passion we hurt people with our actions and with our words, right? So I did hurt a lot of people, but I was hurt back. I was cheated on, and I was done dirty, and in those experiences is where it kind of molds you and kind of puts you in places and spaces that you didn't think you were going to be in. But then once you come out of that dark pit, you would see the growth. Like you would have, it would be like someone that you were blinded spiritually, but someone put these lenses on you, and you started seeing what it was, and you started seeing yourself of who you are becoming, and you're not going to allow that to identify you, or you're not going to allow that to change you to something that you're not.
Right.
And so yeah, you know, tough relationships that I've been a part of definitely sucked in real time because I was hurt and I did things that hurt others and in turn just hurt me. But in those through those experiences, there was growth in there.
Of course.
Because it just kind of prompted me to kind of dig deep into myself and say, okay, I know that I'm not a perfect human being and I know that I'm flawed. How can I be better? And it always started with self. And that's why I'm such a huge advocate on mental health. I had my therapist sit on this couch and do an episode with me and talk about that. So that's why I'm such a huge advocate on mental health, because I think that's important to literally take care of, because we as guys tend to take care of our aesthetic look. We got to have the big arms, we have to have the big chest, we got to have the certain aesthetic look to appeal whomever you're trying to attract in certain points of your life. But we forget about our mental. And so once I started working on my mental, I found love to be something pure. I started seeing what love really looks like. And once I started implementing my faith and implementing God in the mix, I really started seeing what true love really is. You know what I mean? Like the grace that I'm under, the unconditional love that the Lord kind of has for me. Because I look back and I'm like, wow, God never really gave up on me, and He never will. And He has so much patience for me that I don't have. The patience that I don't give myself, the grace that I don't give myself, and the grace and patience that I don't give to others. And so once I started digging in deeper with self, my relationships, my outward relationships with my fellow friends like yourself and family members and God started thriving.
Of course.
So that was like the byproduct of my hurt, in a sense, because I was definitely hurt in so many ways that it led for me to numb the pain with alcohol and substance, right? And you're no stranger to that.
Yeah, I mean, no one. I mean, no one tells us how to deal with. I mean, and this is not to blame anybody else either, but you know, I think two of my biggest issues growing up with relationships were the lust and the desire, right? That was clearly, I mean, hormones raging, you know, high testosterone. But then I didn't really have a lot of men that I could talk to about things that I was thinking that are vulnerable, that like you really just can't talk about, like something that sounds so corny. Hey, I really like this girl and I want to do something nice for her. How do I do something nice for her? You can't even have a conversation like that because you're wondering if this guy thinks it's corny. Oh, you sound soft. Oh, you didn't do this. You didn't do this. So a lot of the stigma, and like I said, I'm not a blaming. I just didn't feel that I had any role models or men, sensitive or emotionally intelligent men that I could talk to. And my whole thing was I was an athlete the whole high school. So I couldn't be nice to a girl. I couldn't court a girl. I had to be the alpha, whatever that meant.
Yeah, the alpha male.
You know what I mean? And I just had to just kind of move around and beat on my chest and all that. And it wasn't, and looking back, it wasn't even me, but that was the role I kind of slid into because it was like, well, you know, the pressures and it's easier to do that to be yourself at that time. So
it's funny how we try to fit into molds, right?
Oh my gosh,
the molds that we're not, like molds that culture will present you and make you feel that that's the mold you need to fit in. So I got to be this alpha male. I can't show vulnerability. I can't show that I have a heart because I maybe looked as soft. And who in their right mind would want myself to look that way, because I got to present myself as such, you know.
And I'm sorry, but especially I feel like in our cultures, especially, it's like if you're from the islands, if you're Hispanic, you're like, it's black. It just it's something. And I mean, it probably isn't. I really shouldn't limit any other cultures as well, but I just know, speaking from experience and knowing your experience, that you know it's you don't talk about your problems. You don't. I mean, you get hit for crying if you're young. If you got any type of softness, you're gonna get slapped. You're not. There's none of that. So it's a little tough. It's a little tough for sure.
That's for sure, because like my father, for example, you know, he was a very present father. I was blessed to be in a home where both of my parents lived under the same roof, and it's that stigma that you couldn't do certain things that in their eyes looked for the least amount feminine.
Even for the least amount
feminine, because then it's like, oh, I'm not raising my kid right. I gotta do something. I gotta knock something out. I'm gonna have to push him, and I gotta kick him in the butt and make him, do manly things. And meanwhile, I'm 9 years old trying to figure how to play soccer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that was like my first sport is soccer. I think it was
same.
It was for you too. So I was playing soccer, and then puberty strikes, and then you start kind of looking around and seeing the ladies in little shorts playing soccer too. Yeah. It's like, oh, so the girls' soccer team's looking kind of nice. And it's like, how do you? And then like you start questioning these feelings and going through puberty, and I'm like, why am I feeling this way? And why am I getting these erections? And why is, and then it was hard for me to have those conversations with my father.
Literally? Sorry.
Right? No pun intended.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. But my father was like, to me as a kid, my father was this big, massive guy. Meanwhile, boys and girls that don't know me personally, my father's 5'7". Okay, I'm taller than my dad, but he was this massive of a alpha male around the house, and he carried such a voice and carried such a presence that whatever he said was gospel. You know what I'm saying? And so when it came to women and dating when I was a teenager, I kind of was intimidated having conversations with my dad. So I kind of strayed away from having those intimate conversations with my father. I felt more comfortable talking about sports with my dad and movies than, because he's a bit of a movie buff. Like he's old school Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee, Schwarzenegger guy.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
And he loves Sylvester Stallone and Jean-Claude Van Damme in the heydays. Chuck Norris at the peak of his movie career. I mean, Chuck Norris had dope, action-packed movie. So that was my dad. My dad was a movie buff. He loved action movies. He loved the old school Bruce Lee movies, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, all those guys, right? So I felt so comfortable, like how you and I are talking. We could talk about movies and artists and this actress and actor, and we could talk about sports all day. But when it came to relational things and intimate things about sex, girls, how to navigate through a conversation with a girl, how do I even abide by following a protocol if there was one. I would have those conversations with my dad, but it was very very structured. Like my dad would be the first to tell me, dude, he would tell me, son, there's going to be a time in your life where a girl's going to I can't even say this with a straight face, but he would tell me that there's going to be a time where a girl's going to make you spaz and make you snap, that you want to grab them and do things to them physically, but you are not to, go through this, act on those impulses, because you are not to touch a woman. I don't care what she does. You are not to ever touch a woman, because I've never hit your mom. And that kind of sat me as a 11-year-old, I think I was at the time, 11 or 12. That stayed with me forever. And I was like, I had to fear God with my dad, because, as you know, Caribbean, West Indian, that culture, bro, they would be quick to take out the chancleta, dog, and
like a boomerang, and just
pow, bro. Like if I ever find out from another parent that you hit someone's daughter, it's a wrap. So that was my dad, and that's where the extent of the conversations will go. So it was fear-based, if you will. So I was inclined to talk about love and relationships with my mom. So my mom was the one that I would go to, and my mom's she's been a woman of God all my life, that from what I know. She grew up in the church. She loves Jesus. She's a prayer warrior. She's prayed for my salvation. I'm a walking answered prayer. She's prayed for my salvation forever. I got saved when I was 29. and she just constantly would have these real cool conversations that just made it easy for me. And it wasn't something that I got to hide from my parents because I don't know how to navigate through a conversation about dating someone and taking them out on a date, you know? And so all these different experiences that I would have with my girlfriends, I would be inclined to talk to my mom rather than my pops. I don't know how it was with you.
You're lucky. I mean, my parents, same thing. My parents are great. They have their skills, and you know, as an adult, you could look back. My parents weren't very emotional or affectionate, right? That's Jamaicans are not very like that.
And this is both your mom and dad?
Both of my parents are very much like that.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
there was never like a balance.
Never a balance, really. They showed love in other ways, you know, and doing things, the schools I went to, putting me in the programs I was in, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if this was the best idea. It feels great now, but I thought to myself, well, why don't I just go to the horse's mouth? Initially, I think in high school, in the early 20s, I was befriending women because I liked being around them. You know, when I went to college, you know, if it was me and you and another dude in a room, we'd have our cleats in there. There'd be no food in there. It would be dim. It smelled terrible. But then I go to my female friend's room, and there would be snacks. It would smell great. The lights would be on. There'd be candles, extra pens, paper for homework, all this stuff. But so I started to kind of lean on them because I figured, why not talk to them and trying to like get some insight? At first, it was kind of selfish. I was just trying to get insight on how. But then, you know, fast forward to now, I've got these beautiful friendships with these women, right? Yeah. And some people, even before I met my girlfriend now, women would have an issue with the fact that I had these female friends.
Same, yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, I don't dice it up. I have female friends, and then I have women who I've been intimate in the past. My female friends have taught me more about women, life, how to be a masculine man, how to be, you know what I mean? Like, same. It's been amazing, and I do get a lot from my male friends too. It isn't just to say, but it's almost like you use a spoon for what you use a spoon for, use a knife for what you use a knife for, use a fork for, you know, when it was time to get really emotionally deep, vulnerable advice about a woman I liked or an emotional problem, I needed someone who was more or less an expert in that field who deals with their emotions from, you know, on a daily basis. Right. And so I honestly give so much credit. Because I've heard, I mean, there was either indirect or direct advice. There was direct advice like, this guy hit me, blah, 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 da, 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 da. You know, or as indirect advice, things like just overhearing, you know, my friend talk about how, you know, sometimes she didn't really need a gift. She just needed this guy to like just give her a little kiss on the neck when he came home from work to show her that she meant something. Because to me, I didn't even understand it. I'm thinking, I'm home, I'm tired, she looks busy, she don't want to talk to me. It was the talking to the women, that insight that they provided that helped me further my relationships with other women like 1,000%.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that too, because like I've learned from my female friends too, like honest and like true female friends, not female friends, because I know we live in a society where things are so hypersexualized that people have this stigma where, oh, he has a lot of female friends, I wonder if he slept with every single one of them at some point. No, I'm like you. I have my small handful of female friends that I've never slept with. I never had relationships with intimate, like you said, intimate relationships with. I just have them as my homegirls. And I would and early on, I when I just was going to high school, I did have my fair share of female friends, but I wasn't comfortable because I wasn't versed enough or experienced enough in life to have those conversations early on in middle school and high school. But my mom was. So my mom taught me how to truly love, what vulnerability looks like, and it's okay to be vulnerable because a real man cries when the time when the time calls for you to show that emotion. She showed me early on that it's okay to show emotion, and emotion is not necessarily what you said, banging your chest and showing people that you're a man. Emotion is everything that emotion comes with. It could be anger, of course, and it could be happiness and joy, and it could also be times where you're just feeling blue and feeling, out of touch with yourself, and maybe you're depressed because you've gone through a bit of a hardship, and it's okay to show that to the opposite sex, who you may call a friend. And so I learned that early on with my mom. So then when I was a senior in high school and I was developing more friendships and creating more friends in school, most of them were female friends, because I was able to learn how to listen to a female voice and talk to a female who was my first love is my mom. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to have these conversations with my mom, which equipped me to have healthy conversations with women. So and when I was in college, I was initially nervous and shy, like any other man when you're first meeting a girl. But I was just so well versed in knowing what the female mind is, and just being around a female all of my life. I just felt like I could just be around women very comfortably and not make them feel uncomfortable, because I was never a creep, and I never wanted to creep them out, and I was never like a pervert of any way. Maybe I joked about perverted things, having boy talk or locker room talk, if you will. But like early in my collegiate time that I spent, because I dropped out of college because I figured this isn't for me, and I'm not digging on school. I was
gonna say, can we applaud for that? Because I got a lot of student loans and they're not paid off.
Yeah.
So, can we applaud for that?
So I applaud the people that stick to college, like my man over here who stuck around and did his thing, and I'm so proud of him. But it wasn't, education in that sense wasn't for me, and I'm not trying to dig on education or the education system here in America. If it's for you, more power to you.
But if it's not, there's other ways too. You don't gotta force a square peg into a round hole.
You could definitely learn a trade. You can do so many things now. I mean, TikTokers now are making thousands upon thousands of dollars just doing TikTok.
Right.
So there's ways that you can make a living, and if the traditional American way of going to the institutions and the learning institutions wasn't for you, don't feel too bad, because you can meet and network other ways. And for the sake of this conversation, being that we're talking about the opposite sex and being involved with people and with dealing with so many different personalities and different walks of life, you get to learn a lot about different cultures. I remember, and I consider myself pretty fortunate that I grew up in New York, which is like the melting pot of all these cultures. And you get to, like, for example, my old neighborhood, right? I had a Filipino immediately next door to me, my neighbor. My across the street neighbor was from Trinidad, Tobago.
Wow.
Down the block, I had a Jamaican family who I'm still friends with, by the way. So shouts to Nick Gordon and the Gordon family. Jamaicans, awesome Jamaican patties, bro.
Oh my gosh.
But Trinidad and Tobago, they have the best, I forget what seasoning they use, but it's similar to jerk chicken. But Trinidad and Tobago love their spices too, and so I've eaten their food.
Jamaicans are still the best.
Jamaicans, I feel by far have the best jerk. Bro, the Jamaican jerk chicken is out of this world, and I love spice. I love spice. But yeah, so I had the opportunity to be able to make friends from all over the globe. I mean, I had a homegirl who was half Italian and half Dominican. Okay. And then I had a girl that I was dating at the time, I think I was a junior or senior in high school, who was half Jamaican, half Italian. Oh, and the culture shock for me was crazy, because like you get a little taste of the mother's side, who was Jamaican, and then the father's side, who was Neapolitan Italian, who, for whatever reason, they feel like they're the real Italians. I guess they don't. They have like this unspoken beef with the Sicilians. They're like, no, Sicilians are not really Italians. I'm Neapolitan. I'm not Sicilian. Like that kind of thing. But he joked around it because he actually had Sicilian friends, and it was like an ongoing joke. But yeah, so you get to learn different cultures. So it was cool to really be part of that growing up in New York, and because a lot of people that didn't grow up in New York or didn't grow in a metropolitan area where there was a melting pot of different cultures, they were only exposed of one thing.
Exactly.
And it's hard for them to even have a conversation because they feel like it's awkward to them. It's such a culture shock. They don't know how to navigate through a conversation, especially yet alone with a conversation with the opposite sex.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to get to know someone and you possibly hold them as a candidate, if you will, that you would potentially want to court and call a boyfriend or girlfriend.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was kind of something like that where I would just learn from different cultures. It helped me. I don't know if this was for you, your experience, but I felt like early on being exposed to all these different things kind of like set me up to be a better I don't know, person to have conversation with.
Maybe like a receiver of it, kind of just because it's the same thing with being uncomfortable and going to this private school that was predominantly white, and I was at one point I was around mostly black students in New York, but later in life it just helped me acclimate around different people. I think it's the same thing with women, because if I can think back, right, even my early conversations with women weren't these reciprocal, mutual conversations. I got into this conversation thinking, here's some prey. Here, how do I talk to this woman to get her on my side? I mean, years later, it evolved into this thing after going through growth and realizing, because actually it's a very selfish thing, right?
It's a caveman way of thinking.
Right.
Like, I'm this caveman, I gotta bop her in the head and she's prey, and you kind of see them as a piece of meat.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's two selfish ways to live, right? I use selfish for lack of better terms, but there was a selfish way where I did everything for me, but it was in such a wrong way that there was no way I was going to get any good benefits from it, right?
Yeah.
So on the flip side, I said to myself, I want to lead a good life. I want good things. I want people to believe this, blah, blah. So for starters, for example, for using women, if I wanted that out of them, I had to start meeting women more genuinely. It meant if I saw a woman and I was even slightly attracted to her, I had to try to have a genuine conversation. If she stopped it, if she told me to leave, I had to leave. Even in the moment, I still had to try to program myself to think non-sexually. How do I talk to this woman? What does she look like? What is her favorite color? What is she saying right now?
Yeah.
It was like reprogramming myself from my teenage years that like lust and trying to get her weren't the first things. It was like, and the more I did that, I mean, and this is not patting myself on the back, there ended up being situations where there were women interested in me and I didn't know. Because I switched that off. I didn't want it to be where because I felt like every time I was going out, I was like, like, you know what I mean? And when it became more genuine, it was just a genuine, you're having a conversation with this woman like you are with Javi, like you are with your professor, like you are with your boss. It's just a very genuine, organic. Then I started to realize I had better interactions with women. Right. Now it was beyond the surface level. I was starting to see other things. I wasn't attracting as many I still had some toxic women I attracted, but I wasn't.
We all have, right?
I wasn't attracting as much.
And we're going to touch on that about attracting toxic women. But finish your thought.
Yeah, but I was going to end on saying, but that was really still a reflection of myself too. You know, that's how I knew. I don't want to say that's how I knew the work. I knew there was more work to be done because I could see the reflection in them. Every time. I mean, even when you think, there's some instances where, there are people who are in very toxic, abusive relationships, and I'm not trying to tell them that they are in any way responsible. But for me, I know Mike, I had some accountability in every relationship with every toxic person I'd ever been with. Yeah. It was never all them. So for me personally, I know I was living a certain lifestyle that drew those women and made them, or made me even attracted to them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So once so now with my girlfriend, even now, like I said, I've been with her a year. I don't think I'm done. I don't think, now the toxicity's over. But every time I see our little obstacles, she doesn't know this. She's going to hear it for the first time. But we beef and we fight. And I go to my corner sometimes and I think to myself, what did you do though? Mm-hmm. What was it that, yeah, she's being annoying. Yeah, she's being too loud. Yeah, she's being dramatic. But where did you fit into that equation that could have stopped that sooner?
Yeah.
Where could you have fit in that could have not caused that reaction at all? Where did you fit in that you didn't have to trigger her to even think the way she's thinking, right? And it just helps tenfold. If I could always come back to me, when I pointed at them all the time, I didn't have any success. When I came back to me a little bit, started to have a little bit more success.
Yeah, that's a whole fact, because like I think once you start manning up and being a big boy and actually being a mature adult, you start realizing that there's gonna be moments where there's gonna be rifts in the relationship, and there's gonna be I told you this earlier when we were having this conversation pre-recording, is that the mind of a woman is totally different from a mind of a man. Yeah, sure. Women typically statistically are known to, because there's like a study, I don't know if it's Yale, Harvard, or one of these studies show that females unravel in emotionally, even intellectually faster and obviously mature. I could see that. And mature faster than boys. For sure. Boys. And I even look at it because I have a 7-year-old. I was going to say son, but he is kind of like my son, Connor, nephew, and my niece Aria. Aria's 3 right now, and she's so bright than what Connor was when he was 3. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. And so that statistic kind of holds to be true in most cases. So like when we start courting and dating certain women, they might have gone through certain experiences where you don't know what experience they were in. And once you start diving deeper into their way of thinking, their way of the way of navigating through a conversation, the way they interact with other people other than you, and you start seeing the way they interact around their friends and their family, you start kind of peeling back the layers of what makes them tick and what really wires them and what really pushes them and what really even motivates them or lights a fire in them to do what they are passionate about, for example. And so we think blue, they think pink. And sometimes when we may think that certain things that we do are okay, they probably grew up around someone that did those same things, but it's a trigger for them. And we don't know that until it's vocalized.
Yeah, you don't even know it until you have the openness to even accept that as a possibility. You just accepted that as a possibility, which means that if you even were around it, you have a step ahead. Then let's just use me for example. You may have a step ahead of me to already recognize it because you've accepted it. Whereas me, I'm just like, nah, she's probably just being annoying.
Right. And the only way, guys and girls, that you can, and if you're really in a place where you want to be intentional about your partner that you are involved in, whether it be 3 months or 3 years, the only way that you can be better at being a cohesive unit and just being a team about everything that you do is remember that it's not you versus her. It's you and them versus the things that happen to us. Like the things that happen to us that presents itself because of the world and the culture that we live in. There's always stuff going around. There's always stuff happening. And God forbid something happens, we want to be there in the trenches with them. So for example, she gets into a fight with a coworker. She comes over your house or you guys meet up at a restaurant, wherever you guys are meeting up, and you guys sit down, the waiter comes over, she's not really showing any emotion, she's very to herself, and then you beg to ask, hey babe, what's wrong? And then all of a sudden she just dumps this stuff on you, and now you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you had that bad of a day. What happened? And then all of a sudden she's like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm just so angry and yada yada yada. And then you gotta kind of have to put yourself in a place where you have to show that you're showing empathy and that you're trying to understand, even though you might have never experienced that with a coworker ever, right? But she just happens to experience it, and now she's dumping it on you. And sometimes those vibes that you pick up kind of reciprocate, and you're like, oh my God, she's tense. Now it's making me kind of tense. And then when you guys are ordering food and you're trying to shift the conversation elsewhere, she's still kind of stuck on it. And now it's creating tension, and now it's probably going to create a back and forth between you and her now. And you had nothing to do with it because it was a thing that she had with a coworker that's put her through the gauntlet of whatever they went through, and now she's pissed, and you're trying to put out fires that you didn't cause. But when you take a position where you know that nothing that you can possibly do in that present time can fix anything, you have to bite your tongue and show her love in other ways
100%.
that it's not gonna include having a conversation about your day at work. So sometimes maybe the best thing that you can do is not talk at all and just let her rant and let her just get it out of her system.
You know what that's called, Javi? That's called commitment.
Yeah.
And people don't understand because they think that it's a different thing. Right. Because I'll use an analogy, right? If you're gonna go whitewater rafting, right? They're gonna tell you potentially what it's like.
Yeah.
But you don't really know. Right. It could be semi-mod, it could be rough, but once you get on the raft, you're committed to the thing, and that's what you're doing till the journey's over. Yeah. Some people get in, and because relationships are the way they are now, they can get the fuck out any second. Right. They could just get out. Yeah. They don't know what true commitment really is. It's really, are you committed to understanding this person when you're not in the best mood? Because that's what you want from them, right? You want that person to not be in the best mood and listen to you. So are you going to do that for them, right? It means, hey, 5 years from now, one of us may not look the same. One of us may not be thinking the same. Maybe someone picks up a hobby that's new. No, you're not like I met you before. Yeah. Oh, that's not how I met you. Yeah. Then that's not commit. It's about the commitment to things, and I think a lot of people sometimes are just not.
A lot of people are not willing to learn your person. Like, I'm willing to learn my person, and I'm sure you're willing to learn your person. Sure. My therapist always tells me, because he specializes in couples therapy as well. Oh, really? And I kind of pick his brain a little bit because I know that fact that he specializes in couples therapy. And he always tells me, he's like, hey, Javi, you know how you can win long term if you're really committed to being with your person for a long time? Marriage and all that other good stuff that comes with life is being open to learning your person and getting a PhD on that person. Every day. You have to have a doctrine on you're learning your person, because a GED is not going to cut it. Flunking out is not going to cut it. Running away and being a fleer is not going to cut it. And if you are really about that life and you really love your person, even on the worst days, you got to still show some type of love. 100%. And again, it comes with teamwork. And I always tell because both of us went through the gauntlet of dating, and now we're I believe in thriving relationships. And when I say thriving, I don't mean our relationships are perfect.
Mine is perfect. I just joke.
Yes, babe. I know you're listening, babe.
I won that one already. I already won.
And ours is perfect.
Ours is more perfect.
But you know what's cool about my girl? My girl knows that we're not perfect, right? And she knows that we're under the grace of God. She's a God-fearing woman, and it's a very cool dynamic, because that's half the battle. A lot of these people get into relationships that are not culturally balanced, and they're not faith balanced, and it kind of creates tension too. That's not unnecessary, I should say. But I'm ahead of the curve a little bit, because she is a God-fearing woman. She goes to church. She goes to my church, of course, and we have that that common denominator, right? And so with my girl, like, I always show her, not only just by words, but show her in action how what she means to me, how much I love her, how much I care for her, how much I want to learn more of her, and vice versa. She wants to learn. She is open about doing new things and talking about uncomfortable conversations and talking about our past and where she came from and her upbringing and certain intimate things that she would never share with another person. She's already shared with me, and in those times, in those moments, is where you really get to know who you're with, and you get to have a new appreciation of who you're doing life with, right? So I think with being committed and being intentional with your partner will definitely get you farther with the process of going through life together. It's all about teamwork. It's not an individual stat that we got to carry, that I'm better than I make her better or she makes me better. It's you both have to make each other better, because you both have to move in a cohesive way as a team and take life on together, because life is going to throw you curveballs, bro. And social media is the devil. And there's temptation there. Us as men, we are very visual creatures, and there's moments where I got to turn off the IG because I'm seeing half naked women and it's gonna be a gateway for me to dive into things that I don't need to dive in on the internet. So
without even wanting to.
Exactly. So it's like we got to be mindful of the fact that if we are truly committed and really about that life, we have to show not with so much the mouth, but with action, and just reassuring her that, hey, we're doing this together. We're building together. We're building a foundation together. You're not better than me. I'm not better than you, but I do have a place in the relationship, and you have a role to play. And I think that once you start knowing your role, and she starts learning her role and seeing her role, I think it'll definitely set you up for a brighter future.
Yeah. And what you just said, stop showing her with your words and with your actions, which my girlfriend has actually said to me before.
Yeah.
We've gotten into this before. And it's just, I don't mind talking about it, but because we've beefed before over kind of, and when we realized it was more about how you give love and how you receive love.
Yeah.
So I'm a talker. I've always been a talker. I'm a
love
communicator.
Languages.
Yes, love
languages.
languages.
Me and Jasmine establish our love languages.
See, that's what you have to do early.
Now I know her love language, so I already know how to hone into that, because when she's lacking something or she needs something, or maybe she needs because she's all about touch. So I gotta make sure I'm hugging.
That's exactly. Maybe that's what they are when they love you. I guess because
she's definitely touch. Her love language is touch and a little bit of words of affirmation, but she's mainly touch. Me though, I don't need to be touched. Yeah. I need words.
Words of affirmation.
And she struggles as a communicator because she's not one to sit on the couch and do a podcast.
And mine struggles with communication too. So the conversation gets difficult, she wants to run.
But you know what's so cool though? Yep. She's embracing that challenge, and now she'll send me texts. Right. She'll show me words of affirmation. She'll verbalize it. When she can't be on the phone with me, she'll send me voice notes on the iPhone. Right. So she's trying, and you could only appreciate that, bro.
Of course.
So that makes me want to love her more.
Of course.
I can't wait to see her now that I'm talking to her.
Of course. And that conversation, once again, I mean, that's a thing. Again, like I said it before, if you really want what you want out of a relationship, believe it or not, it requires some selfishness. But like, I don't know how to describe it. It's genuine selfishness. Right. So you know that if you're gonna have this conversation with this person, and you're gonna, I need to, in order for Candace to be the woman I want, I can't tell her 20% of the story or 80% of the story. So if she's not the woman that I want, it's partially I'm not doing something right. You have to be
transparent.
Yeah, so if that's what you want, out of life, you have to be willing to give the 100% first in order to get that back.
And this is a key, and this is a gem that Mike just dropped for you guys that are listening. Guys, transparency is a tool that will never hinder you, but it would actually equip you to be a better boyfriend or a better husband for you married guys. will equip you to be a better husband, because or a better partner, because transparency is all what women want. Women are wired that way, guys.
Even if you don't want a relationship, right? Standing in your truth, regardless of what it is, makes you just more solid. There's nothing wrong if you just want to go out to. This is not me. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to go out, had a rough night, and you want to meet someone and be intimate that night. I don't necessarily do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But what is wrong with it if you have to manipulate to get there, right? Because a real guy, there's guys out there right now that are telling women exactly what's on his mind, whether they like it or not, and they're getting the same results that you're trying to get, right? So it's more so about how are you doing and how are you achieving these things. It's not so much the act that's the wrong thing. The intimacy is not necessarily the wrong thing, you know. Well, it depends on what you believe, obviously. But I do believe that, you know, like my relationship with God, I feel like God knows everything that's kind of in your heart, right? So if you do anything with bad intention, He kind of already knows. I don't have to tell you, or you know, no one else has to know. God kind of will know. So like, if you're doing that, if you went to a bar and you had a beautiful conversation with someone, it was an hour long, and then you went to this place and you danced and everything was just good. I mean, it's there's something to be said for the genuineness of that versus you lying and this and that and the other thing. You know what I mean? And I just want people to get the best. I want people to get the best out of their life. And honestly, I couldn't get nothing good in my life happened until I started telling myself the truth on a daily basis. It did not have nothing happened.
Absolutely. Because I think the worst thing or the worst thing that you can do to yourself is lie to yourself. And not just lie to yourself, but believe those lies. Bro, when you start believing your own lies, you are in a new level of toxicity. Like the Scion level of toxicity for all you Dragon Ball Z fans out there. You're in another realm, bro, and you never want to be there. Because at the end of the day, you're going to implode. And when you implode, you're going to hurt so many people to closest proximity to you. Hopefully not physically, but definitely emotionally and spiritually. You're gonna just lacerate people with your words, with action. It's just not. You're gonna leave a mess behind, and I'm not for that. In 2022, let's not leave messes behind. Let's not be dumpsters and dump on people. Let's be more caring, more loving. If you're out there and you're still trying to figure out the dating scene, embrace your singleness. I had to for a while until I met the one. You had to embrace your singleness for a while. You had to work on self. You had to had to hit the gym. You had to knock some habits, and you had to just recreate yourself. And there's nothing wrong with recreating yourself. I don't care if you're 15, 20, 25, 37, 45, or 57. It's never too late to recreate yourself to a better person. Self-care is such a big key. I'm always going to jump out the window when it comes to mental health, because I'm blessed to have a therapist that I can trust in.
No pun intended. He said, I'm the first to jump out the window. I'm sorry.
He's always catching the puns, bro. That's crazy.
I'm the first to jump out of the window when it comes to mental health. You got to get the drum set on here, dog. You got to get the drum set on here. I love it.
But I'm always the first one to be on top of the table yelling mental health is a real thing. Mental health is a real thing, because it is a real thing. True. And if you don't take care of self and you don't take care of mental, you're not going to have a healthy life individually. And sure enough, you're not going to have a healthy life relationally. Because a lot of people's mistakes is, I got to meet the right one to help to create me, change me. I'm just not with the right one. That's why I'm like this. No. You got to start with self, and then that right person is going to come along the way, and it's going to not just fill you, but reciprocate everything that you are. Because it should never be your cup should never be half full before you meet that one.
Of course,
your cup should always be full. And then you should be in the overflow of that. So that person should also have a full cup, and you guys should overflow each other's cup because you want to be in that overflow, in that constant overflow. So I just want to encourage someone today. I hope that this conversation has helped people, has maybe possibly shifted some perspective, because I know as a 20-something-year-old or even as a 30-something-year-old, the dating pool nowadays, man, especially here, as just Mike said earlier, it's pretty
bad. Yeah.
People don't even call it a dating pool anymore. I think they call it a cesspool.
Yeah, no one trusts each other anymore. It's terrible.
It's terrible. And then these reality shows don't make it easier for you guys, so don't watch TV.
Yeah. My last thing, not that I'm a relationship person and I have all this advice, but just be committed to the growth. You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
The people are gonna slightly change, and just you're not committed to you're committing to the idea that, look, if I really care about this person, I'm willing to grow and change with them. Look, if they're not for you, then they're not for you too.
Yeah.
But getting stuck in the idea, like, I think people get into a relationship and they see that as the end point. Like, is your faith? How much is your faith grown?
A lot.
And it's going to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
Probably till you die, right?
Right.
Saying there's no difference with any other, whether it's the gym, whether it's reading, anything. If you want it to flourish, you're going to have to keep feeding it. You don't just get in a relationship, oh, we're good, we're done, committed, that's it. Nah, committed to growing with that person, because, you know, otherwise you can't go anywhere.
Absolutely. You're gonna find yourself in a dead end, and then you're blaming other people, and then you're blaming your partner. That creates tension. That creates being divisive, because you don't want to be a divisive person. I mean, you don't want to be that toxic person either. And then you don't want to be involved with a toxic individual. Whether or not you created that monster, at that point, I don't think it matters at that point. It's just a place or a space that you shouldn't be in. And if you find yourself, I've seen it on social media of people just talking about their toxic relationships that they're currently in. I mean, wow, that's a bold statement to have. Like, literally just putting it out in Front Street that you're in a toxic relationship, whether it's a butt of a joke or not. It's not fun.
And people are calling themselves toxic as a joke. They're like, I'm so toxic. I can't. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, but it's. I think we should have more conversations where it's anti-toxic, because I think we have to push that narrative. Because yes, people joke about it, but there's people offing themselves over a girl or a man. There's people committing suicide over a relationship, and I don't want to hear stories about a young man or woman offing themselves because they had such a toxic relationship that they couldn't bear to living another day. That's just, and I hate to get morbid and get too dark, but that's just the reality of it all. And this is why I want to have more conversations on, relationships, because it's not just romantic relationships, it's relationships in general. Relationships with your mom, better relationships with your coworkers, better relationships with your cousins, better relationships with your business partner. 100%. Your business is not going to thrive if you're having a crappy relationship with your business partner. Like, you have to be intentional, and it's a two-way street. Communication is a two-way street. Let's talk about it. Let's be more transparent. Let's really entertain the idea of going to couples therapy if you need it. I'm all for it. If you are in that space or in that season of your life where you want to start self-caring, the time is now. Right. It's the greatest time of the year to start now. You have no excuse. It's January, the first month of the new year. Let's get out there and show some action. Let's start eating better. Let's start exercising. Let's start reading more books than just your feed on social media. Let's start getting into the Word. I'm here with my new friend here, Chris, who's running the camera right now. So shouts to Chris. He's been a part of he's embracing the fact that we're doing a men's group on Monday evenings to really grow in the faith and really get to know dudes in a deeper level. That's self-care at the end of the day. That's you showing up for yourself at the end of the day. 100%. I think if anybody's going to take anything out of this conversation, is show up for yourself. Start there, and I guarantee you, the rest will follow through, man. Just like Mike said, it's just a reciprocating thing, and I think that should be the theme of this new year. That your actions will determine where you're gonna end your year. So let's get out there. Let's just be more intentional. Let's be more transparent. Let's be more vulnerable, guys. Like let's cut that stigma about alpha male beating your chest. I'm this alpha male. I got to show a certain way of thinking and living, and let's break that stigma. Like, and I think that people who embrace that kind of move in different circles too, and they're in better relationships, friendships, and kinships. They're in better social circles, if I can go there. And so, guys, just really be intentional about yourself and others, and then the rest will come through. And yeah, man. So I really enjoyed this talk, bro.
I did too, man.
This actually went better than I actually anticipated.
Really?
Yeah,
so
because
what were you anticipating with me being here?
Because I felt like we were so like unprepared, because
you felt like you were unprepared.
It was me.
See,
it was
because
me.
I have Rebel Noir clothing.
Yes.
I'm prepared for every. No, it was good though. It was good, and I mean, I was a little nervous too, as always. You know, these things they're deep, and we never know where the conversation's going to go. Right. I trust you, and I know you may bring it to a complex level or a vulnerable level, but as long as I'm here, you know, I trust you, dog. So
but round of applause, and thank you guys for listening. Again, tune in every Wednesday on all digital platforms. Thank you again for donations. I will give back some way, somehow. I'm still thinking of how I'm going to give back. But yeah, donations at Cashapp, Kingdom Talks. And till next time, guys, we love you. Peace.